Jurassic World Rebirth features a few key dinosaur attack scenes that I think have really stood out from the bulk of the film. The scene where Nina is pulled into the water by a Spinosaurus on the Isle of Saint Hubert's bank was actually the moment in the theater that I was like, okay, wow, that is actually way more of that old school Jurassic Park feel I did not expect. With that being said though, there was a lot of changes that happened behind the scenes that would ultimately rearrange a lot of stuff and even change the ending of the movie in what looks like started out as a very different script. What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to talk about a few of the death scenes that were altered from Jurassic World Rebirth during production on the movie. This film was being written under the working title of Jurassic World Survival, and there is a lot of fun bits of trivia that I wanted to go over with the film and the dinosaur attacks that we almost got to see. So what's really interesting about these changes, in my opinion, is the fact that they kind of happened spontaneously while the movie was being made, with a few quick rewrites to really hone in on what the producers and filmmakers in general thought the audience wanted. And one of the first things they did was actually switch the death scenes around at the very beginning of the movie itself. Recently, Gareth Edwards has revealed that he actually casted the opening of Jurassic World Rebirth to have the woman character get killed by the D-Rex instead of the guy scientist. To quote the director, it was felt that it might be a bit harsh to kill a female scientist within the first few minutes of the film, and so it got switched. But he originally cast them the other way around, with the lady scientist named DeSanto getting left behind and attacked by the D-Rex, while the Williams character would look on in disbelief behind the glass. Now, this is really interesting to me because if David Koepp wrote the opening of Jurassic World Rebirth to actually be like that, and somebody told him to switch it around, that's just kind of weird. Especially because if it was the girl behind the glass, that is just like so shot for shot identical to Gareth Edwards' Godzilla from 2014 that it's kind of hard to even believe. But this was the first death scene in Jurassic World Rebirth that was altered in the movie. Truthfully, I think they probably still had some trauma behind all of the controversy that surrounded Zara's death in 2015's Jurassic World. A lot of people back then complained that the entire sequence with the Pteranodons and the Mosasaurus was too dark, and took it even further by saying that you can't do that to a random woman in a movie. But anyways, I never really agreed with that. I thought the death of Zara in Jurassic World was really good actually, and I don't know, I just think that they kind of had some leftover stigma and trauma from that whole experience. Part of me wonders how different it would have hit if it was that woman scientist being eaten by the D-Rex instead of the Snickers bar guy. Probably would have caught the audience attention way more sternly if it had been left to stay the way it was originally written, but not sure who made the call to change it. I actually think it should have stayed that way when it was first written, personally. I do think that would have made the movie feel a little bit more dark. Now, the next scene that was changed, I actually think was for the better. So get this, guys. Originally, the Ed Skrein character of Bobby Atwater was supposed to live a very long time in Jurassic World Rebirth. In fact, he was originally supposed to be surviving on the island long enough to align himself with Martin Krebs, the villain of the movie. Now, I can understand why that would make sense for him as a character, and it would even help show the differences between both him and Duncan, and especially because one tries to save everybody at the end of the movie, and the other mercenary just goes for the cash. And honestly, it might have even been better for the character development of Zora, Scarlett Johansson's character, as well, when she decides to share the cure for heart disease with everyone at the end of the film, instead of being a greedy pile of garbage like what they wanted Bobby Atwater to be. But I gotta say, I think the way Bobby goes out in Jurassic World Rebirth is one of the most memorable scenes of the film as it currently stands. We don't know for sure how Bobby would have died at the end of this movie. There are some people I know of that say they've read earlier drafts of the Jurassic World Rebirth script, so maybe they know, but it looks like it would have been the D-Rex, maybe the Mutodons would have killed him when they were attacking the gas station, maybe it was even the helicopter crash. But whatever the case may be, you'd have to get rid of him getting yanked off the boat by the Spinosaurs, and I'm sorry guys, that reveal of the animal finally deciding to just dive off with the dude in his mouth is just too gnarly for me to see cut from the film. He goes into the water and another Spinosaurus goes after him. It's just straight up Deep Blue Sea vibes. But yeah, if they had kept him betraying the team at the end of the movie, it probably would have been better for this film's plot, which leads us to an entire alternate ending for the movie. Probably the most talked about death scene that was altered in Jurassic World Rebirth was the death of Duncan Kincaid. Now, in the movie, it's pretty much written for him to die. After he goes out with the flare into the water and the D-Rex goes to follow him, the movie makes a point of saying, yep, this guy is toast. But he died saving his friends, whereas originally it would have been cross-examined with Bobby betraying his friends. So I guess that is something to think about as well. You've got a group of mercenaries all dealing with their own personal struggles as far as like who they are as people, and Zora is the only one that survives. Bobby chooses to steal the money and gets killed. Duncan chooses to save everybody and gets killed. So yeah, you know, like Duncan surviving in the movie at the end of the final cut, it's an interesting choice because the film didn't really have to commit to that, and Mahershala Ali even wanted his character to die during production on the film. Highly doubt we would have ever seen it, by the way. It probably just would have been the flare going out, but the D-Rex would have actually like stomped on him or eaten him or something. But because they knew the audience would love Duncan's character so much, and because they knew that it would have been a bummer to end the film on something like that, they let him survive. And personally, I'm not so sure how I feel about all of that, because I think they'd have to really do something more with him as a mercenary to really make you feel like he's dead and gone and that it's earned. But they do enough in the movie to build him up as a heroic figure, kind of like how Eddie Carr died in The Lost World, so there is that. Now, to help explain to you just how much Rebirth changed from its storyboarding levels, there was even supposed to be a whole group of native people living on the Isle of Saint Hubert at one point in Jurassic World Rebirth's development, and guess what? They all pretty much are like gone completely once the dinosaurs broke out 17 years ago, which is a fun little piece of storyboard material to have because the Quetzaloatlus has built its nest in that ancient temple on the island. So if they had filmed all of that stuff, you know, if they had the natives like looking up with their spears at like InGen or Biosyn people or whoever like cloning the dinosaurs in the island and moving about with helicopters, the implication is obviously that all those guys got wiped out by the dinosaurs and the dinosaurs just basically killed all of them and there's no one left alive in the island from that tribe. So even though that was never even filmed, contextually, that was a big kind of alteration to Jurassic World Rebirth, don't you think? Now, personally, I think that the death scenes that are in the film as it stands are all pretty good. In fact, I think this movie probably has some of the best kill scenes from dinosaurs attacking humans that we've gotten since Jurassic World, with some of them feeling a lot like what you find in the Lost World Jurassic Park. Nevertheless, a lot was altered during production, and I wanted to talk about it and how this information could be reviewed and gone over in order to help the future installments in the series. Believe it or not, guys, Jurassic World Rebirth kills like 2 women, which is like a big difference in all the other Jurassic Park movies, especially because originally they wanted to kill 3. I don't think that was like planned out or in pre-advance. I just think David Koepp was like, hey, let's just make a movie where everybody is on the table to get eaten by dinosaurs. And they switched a lot of that stuff around while they were filming because they didn't want to go too dark. But there's also the changing of Bobby Atwater, making him get killed early on, that I thought was really cool as far as kill scenes go, even if it did impact the movie negatively as far as character development and plot goes. And Duncan, you know, it's kind of hard to say where that would have been like if he would have lived or died. I personally believe Leclerc's death by the Quetzaloatlus to be one of the most original and chilling moments in the movie. Nina getting pulled into the water by the Spinosaurus was definitely a highlight for me too, and I already talked about how much I enjoyed Bobby meeting his end. That was all cool in my personal opinion. But one character that I think needed to bite the dust in this movie and didn't was the Xavier character. Man, and I don't, if you love the character and think he wasn't annoying or whatever, like, wouldn't it have been a good idea to have him sacrifice himself to a Mutodon or something at the end of the movie near the gas station? And it would have helped elevate the stakes of the film at the end as well. Now, with that being said, guys, probably the most surprising kills were from the D-Rex changing into the size of Godzilla and just destroying all those goobers in the helicopter. I mean, like, talk about coming out of nowhere, but anyways. Those are all just my own thoughts and opinions on Jurassic World Rebirth, the earlier draft called Jurassic World Survival, which had a lot of different deaths, and even the storyboards that had an entire, native tribe that was implied to be wiped out by the dinosaurs. But what are all of your opinions on the subject matter? What do you think of the death scenes in Jurassic World Rebirth? What do you think of the changes that were going on during production? And what are your thoughts on the movie overall? Whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be on the subject matter, I'd love to hear all about them in the comments down below. Now, before I go, I want to thank everyone that's helped me build my channel over the years. I'd also like to thank every one of you guys who've watched my stuff. You've all been extremely cool to me. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and hope that you'll consider subscribing. God bless you all. Christ is King. See you guys in the next video, and as always, take it easy.